Is going on, faithful? This is your boy Mike. I have Nick. I have Scott. I have Zach. We're expecting another Mike to come in. The Nothing But Niners crew is in full effect. What's going on, fellas? Nick, how you doing?
What's going on, faithful? What's going on? What's up, Scott? What's up, Zach?
Scott, what's good, man?
It's good. Life's good. Life's going well. It's nice. I'm enjoying it.
I like hearing that. And Zach, how you doing, baby?
Doing good, man. Just ready to talk some Niners.
Absolutely. So this episode is going to be one that is very, very specific. We are going to talk about Colin Kaepernick and whether or not we think he is being blackballed by the league. So we're going to try to stay on topic here. I know that this is an emotional subject for a lot of 49er fans and faithful alike. So I don't know the temperature of the room so much. I did ask if we all have different opinions. I do know that some people are on different sides of the fence for certain things, but to what extent, I don't know. And we will find that out together to keep this conversation authentic. So I guess we'll just start with a very simple question. We'll start with Zach. Do you think Colin Kaepernick is being blackballed? Yes or no? And why or why not?
I think he is. I mean, they try to hide it as much as they can, but I think the organizational standpoint and the owners of the NFL, it comes down to, I hate to say it, but I mean, a little tad bit of racism. And I feel like it's like they want you to do everything for them until it gets to the point where an agenda, then it's like, whoa, we wanted you to do things our way. And now that you're not doing it, do with you if you're going to have that stance. I think his play last year improved drastically from the years prior, at least in most areas that you grade a quarterback at. And I think to use this argument, I say it all the time on Twitter, so-and-so got signed, why isn't Kaepernick signed, so-and-so got signed, but in reality, we all saw Blaine Gabbert under center last year, and he has a job right now, and Colin Kaepernick doesn't. And I do think he is being blackballed.
Okay. All right. And Scott, what do you think? What do you think about the subject? Is Cat being blackballed?
I don't think it's like a league-wide blackball, but I think there are a lot of owners that don't want him because of what he's done. I actually think it's a disgrace. I don't think that should be the situation that he's in at the moment. But I think now, as sort of fans, even if you are a kind of supporter of Kaepernick, you just have to kind of accept it. I mean, the big news this week was obviously that Ryan Fitzpatrick got signed by the Bucs, and that's why this debate has been sort of semi-reopened. And if you think that their starting quarterback is Jameis Winston, who, when he was in college, was accused of rape, stole crowd's legs, and he's the face of the franchise. That's what they've got in that building. Then Cardinals, who just signed Blaine Gabbert, they're prepared to take risks on guys with question marks. You've Robert Nkemdiche, question marks about him. Tyrann Mathieu, there are question marks over him. He's quelled them, but they will take those risks. Teams will take risks on players, but it looks like right now for a lot of teams that Cap's just, the risk is too great. And it's part of the issue is his position. He's a quarterback. For a lot of teams, he's going to be a backup quarterback. And there is the idea that you don't want the backup QB basically having any influence on the press. You want him basically to sit there, hold a clipboard, do his job. And that's where Kaepernick is in trouble, I think, because teams perceive, whether they should have that perception or not, that he is a distraction. I don't think that he is a distraction, but I think that's the perception.
And maybe that's the bigger question at hand is, first of all, is Colin Kaepernick actually a distraction? I mean, you guys, Nick, I mean, I know you've been quiet over there so far. I know this isn't something that you want to really delve into, but you tell me, do you think Colin Kaepernick is a distraction? You can answer the blackball question also if you think he's being blackballed or not, but do you think he's a distraction?
I do think he's a distraction if he's going to continue what he does. And now, like I said before, once and for all, I'm going to say it one more time. I don't disagree with what Colin Kaepernick is standing for. I do disagree with the fact that it could be the wrong platform. I do disagree that the way that the situation is going down, I don't agree with him not being on a team. I do think that he is an athletic quarterback. I wouldn't say so much. I don't think that he's being blackballed in per se as to because of racism or skin color or anything like that. I believe that he's being blackballed because of his play. I'm not going to sit here and say, I mean, I love Kaepernick in 2012, 2013, but if you go back and watch tape, all the way back to 2012, 2013, he did the same routine. He stares down receivers. He can't read a defense. He doesn't know how to drop back in a pocket. The first type of any type of pressure, he runs. My biggest thing with this whole thing is, yes, he deserves another chance in the NFL. Okay, we've given tons of players in the NFL another chance, whether it be punching their girlfriend in the face, breaking their nose, whether it be rape, whether it be anything else. We've given these players chance. But general managers and organizations are not going to stand for the distraction to be brought to their team for not standing for the United States flag. That is on them. That is not blackballing. But I don't think that they're being blackballed because of anything other than play.
All right, so listen, man. If Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job strictly due to his performance, then he's not being blackballed. It's just that. It's his performance. But I do want to clear something up here, and I know that we're not going to go into this a lot. I hate when people are having this conversation and they're comparing Colin Kaepernick to the likes of Ray Rice or Joe Mixon or Ben Roethlisberger or Jameis Winston. Those guys committed heinous crimes. They did horrible things. Colin Kaepernick has done none of those things. So I want to be very, very clear here. I can't stand when people compare Colin Kaepernick to those guys. That's not what he did. Okay? Colin Kaepernick took a knee, and he only took a knee because someone later pointed out that he was flat out sitting. Okay, so this goes way back to the beginning. Cap would have never said a word if no one asked him, if no one put a microphone in his face and asked him what was going on. He didn't ask for the attention. He had a personal conviction that he stuck with, and when asked about it, he wasn't afraid to speak up on it. Okay, so the question at hand right now, I wanted to get that out of the way. All right, so in case you guys don't know, I am all for the stance that Colin Kaepernick is under and what he's doing and what he's going for. As a man, as a human being, I don't care if he's standing up for people who are amputees. Okay, whatever his thing is, if he wanted to do this for veterans who are being mistreated by the government once they return from war and things like that, whatever it is, the reason he protested is the reason he protested. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the way he protested. Now, if teams aren't giving him a shot, a fair shake because of that, I think that's wrong. And that's what being blackballed is. If you are purposely not bringing someone in just because of that, not because of his play, but because of that, he's being blackballed. And so to answer the question, do I think he is? Yes. I do think Colin Kaepernick is actually being blackballed. You can't tell me that he hasn't done enough to warrant being worked out by some of these teams. You can't tell me that Houston's quarterback situation is so good that they can afford to not bring in Colin Kaepernick just to see. I'm not saying you got to give him a job, but where are the tryouts? Where are the offers? Where are the camp? You know what I mean? Where's that stuff at? And this kind of goes back to what was happening previously when he was in Denver. I mean, when he sat down, he met with Elway, and then they couldn't come up with an agreement on his salary, and that's how he ended up being stuck here. So that's going to take us to something else. Do you guys think that Colin Kaepernick has too high of standards? Do you think that his negotiation techniques or methods are maybe off a little bit, and that's why no one's you know what, before you even answer that, do you think no one's actually reaching out to his agent just to see what's going on? How about you take that, Scott? Do you think that he's not getting any calls at all?
I think it's impossible to tell. I think there was a little bit of news that maybe Seattle might have been giving him a call, and John Lynch said before the draft that there'd been an agreement somewhere, or that they were working on something, but then it fell through. Who knows? What we do know is that his agents come out and said that he's not going to continue his protest in terms of kneeling. But it's quite clear that he is going to continue doing what he's doing in terms of sort of his kind of the projects that he's working for, the money that he's giving, which is, for me, again, is absolutely the right thing. He should be continuing that. It's interesting that no one's leaked it, but I don't think it's not the sort of news that would get leaked. This is going to be something that, if it is happening, is going to be very much on the down low. People aren't going to want to upset their fan bases. I think it's a bad indictment of the NFL, basically, of what it's become, of the guys who are in charge, and this is going to sound bad, but I think a lot of the fan base as well, that they can't accept that what he's doing and what he stands for is actually the right thing to be doing and what the right thing to be standing for.
Zach, you have any rebuttal? Anything you want to add to that, man?
I agree. I mean, there's really no way to tell unless his agent or his representatives are coming out. I can't remember. I think it was the noted sociologist that he works with, I can't remember, Dr. Andrews, maybe? I can't remember his name, but he came out saying that.
I think it was Dr. Edwards, I think.
He came out saying that there were 3 teams that had been in, his girlfriend, Nessa came out saying that was completely false on Twitter. So there's really no way to tell unless he were to confirm it himself, either, by himself or through his agents. I agree. He should at least have some sort of workouts lined up or whatnot, but it's hard to tell at this point. Yeah.
I mean, look, there was that little thing on Twitter for a brief blip in time that said that his representative said that 3 teams called and inquired about him, and immediately Nessa refuted that and says, well, how come Cap doesn't know about that? So here's my question to you guys. Do you guys even question Colin Kaepernick's desire to play? I mean, why haven't we heard from Colin Kaepernick? Everybody and their best friend and their analyst and their agent is speaking up on behalf of Colin Kaepernick. Shannon Sharp. I mean, you got the doctors speaking out for him. You got the agents. You have his girlfriend speaking out for him. Colin Kaepernick is still active on social media. Why isn't he saying or doing something him damn self? Do you guys question at all his desire to still be an NFL quarterback? Honestly, Nick, why don't you go ahead and start with that? You're muted, bro. You have to unmute.
I'm not going to sit here and say that he doesn't want to play football because I don't really know. I'm not going to sit here and say to him that he has blatantly come out and said that he's focusing on this and he's focusing on that, because I don't know what goes on behind scenes. Do I think he's physically able to play football still? Probably. Yes. But really, to me, like I said, it boils down to I think this is more or less of a franchise being afraid to take in somebody who they feel is going to be a distraction more than athleticism. That's exactly what this is all about. People do not want their eyes turned, people's fans turning on them, or the eyes turned, whether they believe in it or they don't believe in it. And like I said, I believe in what he stands for. I agree with what he said. Why should I stand for a flag when it means justice for all, when justice isn't being served for all? I completely agree with that. But whether he's really focused on football or he's not focused on football, I couldn't tell you, because we haven't heard anything from Colin Kaepernick. He hasn't came out and said, okay, what?
No, go ahead. I'll let you finish. He hasn't come out and said what?
No, go ahead. What?
I was going to say it's the exact opposite. We have heard from Colin Kaepernick. Every time he does something charitable, there's a camera and a photo shoot going on. Every time he gives something away, we hear and see it all over the place, and it's retweeted a million times. We've heard plenty from Colin Kaepernick. The issue is that we haven't heard anything about football from Colin.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I haven't heard anything from Colin Kaepernick as to whether he is ready to play football or if he wants to play football and it's a top priority in him right now. He's doing a lot of backseat things, which is great. I'm not against any of that. But like you said earlier, this fan base has to stop with the Colin Kaepernick stuff, because one, we didn't get a letter to the fans saying thank you for his time here. We didn't hear him say anything about how he was thankful to be a faithful or anything like that, or how he's ready to still play football and continue playing football. He opted out of his contract. Whether John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan were going to bring him back or they weren't going to bring him back, he opted out. He wanted to test free agency. He put himself in this predicament, and this is where he's at. That's all I really got to say about it. I don't know what else to say.
I hear you.
I have no hate for Kaepernick. I just want people to understand that I am just a true faithful to my team, and I am ready to move forward. I'm not a fan favorite, as in just a player or so. But it's time to move on from Colin Kaepernick.
I hear you. But before we move on, we have to finish this discussion. So, Scott, I wanted to know what you think about this, man. We haven't heard Colin Kaepernick say a word about football at all. It's to the point that his girlfriend has said more about him and playing football than he has in the last how many months now? Am I wrong to maybe wonder about his desire to still play in the NFL?
No, I don't think so. It's one of those ones that this is where I have one of my very few criticisms of Kaepernick in this is the fact that he hasn't spoke. I think he has burned bridges in San Francisco. I think, but for the most part, this was a fan base that stood by him and believed that what he was doing was right and supported him. And in opting out and just kind of, I understand he's blocked a lot of people on Twitter. People can't interact with him, that sort of thing. I think this is a fan base that feels like Kaepernick has kind of burned bridges with people who perceive to be align themselves with Kaepernick, and he's kind of left himself in a very difficult position by being so uncommunicative, not just with 49ers fans, but then with the rest of the NFL. But again, we don't know. He probably feels like he may well feel like, why does he need to communicate with fans? You know, talk to the media. Oh yeah, I want to play football. I can have those discussions. I can tell my agent I want to play football. My agent can tell teams I want to play football. They know I want to play football, and that's the people I want to deal with on the football side of things. And then that's my football. That's here. And then on this side, this is my charity work. This is the stuff that I'm doing. This is my social stuff. This is the stuff that I am going to be public about. That's my focus publicly. Privately, football, that's this. I'm going to do that. That's my right. That's what I'm going to do. Let me do it. But it's none of your business. And that's how I think he's operating. And that is for fans of the NFL, because the NFL is so heavily publicized. It's so heavily followed. Everyone wants to hear everything that's going on all the time. To us, that seems wrong. But for a lot of people, for any other athlete, for any other sport, if a guy was a free agent for an extended period of time but was focusing on other things, I don't know if they would say, oh, I don't know if he wants to play football still. I don't know if he wants to continue to play soccer. I don't know if he wants to continue to play baseball. I don't know if he wants to continue playing basketball when we know that there's also an issue with the way he's being perceived by the teams in the league.
So you think that it's a narrative that's being thrown out there and floated about because are hesitant to bring him in? You think that now there's a back narrative that, you know, people are only saying that to kind of distract them from the fact that no one's bringing him in?
Yeah, not even just distract, but to try and explain it. You know, just to try and be like, why is that happening? Is it actually this he doesn't want to play football anymore? Because you can't keep on, because it's just been going on for so long. You can't keep on going back to the point, oh, he's being blackballed, or oh, his play's not good enough. Because if you say his play's not good enough, people will come back about that and show you certain things he was doing last year that suggest that actually his play was quite good. You know, his TD to interception ratio was really low. He was standing in the pocket, making throws. He was doing things that people said he couldn't do. So maybe from a play perspective, he improved. He's better than some of the guys in the league. So that argument seems to fall down. And if you're not willing to accept the blackball argument, then where do you go? Oh, maybe he doesn't want to play football anymore. Maybe he wants to do the social. And that's for me, This has become so long, so drawn out, explanations just coming out from everywhere and anywhere.
All right. I can dig that. I completely understand what you're saying. And Zach, I wanted to ask you a question about all this also, man. And so Colin Kaepernick's not getting any calls and things like that. At what point do you start to say, now Colin Kaepernick's been through, that I can recall, 3 different agents so far. So Zach, what do you think that means? I can't recall someone in such a position, the quarterback position, going through that many agents. So Zach, why don't you tell me what you think that means? Does that have anything to do with any of this? Like the fact that he keeps going through agents, and at some point, isn't it his agent's job to, you know, come out and try to get his guy onto a field or at least to practice inside a facility? You go ahead and take that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you know, thought-provoking as to why he's gone through so many agents. You know, maybe he feels he's not being represented fairly. Maybe he feels, you know, they're going out and they're not doing their job correctly and finding him work. But touching on what you guys were talking about earlier, what agents are out there that have to come out and state publicly that they want to play? You know what I mean? Like, it's not really a normal thing for players to, you know, oh, just letting you guys know, I still want to play in the NFL. Like, for itself. You shouldn't have to come out and say that. And the fact that it's even being talked about, yeah, it's definitely eye-opening. But it's thought-provoking to wonder why he had to have 3 different agents. And maybe he does feel like he's not being represented fairly. Maybe he feels that they're not doing their job correctly. Maybe he feels that, they're pushing out these narratives, or maybe they're not pushing out anything and they're not helping him fight the narratives that are going out against him. So why he has 3 different agents, or he had 3 different agents, but maybe it's time for a 4th because nothing really seems to be happening for him.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with all of that, with what Scott said and what Zach said. But in the long run, do you think he ends up on an NFL team? Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. For me, I think it will have to be a contender. It will be maybe someone like Seattle. As much as we hate to hear it, they probably are going to be a contender. Maybe someone like a Pittsburgh, or a New Orleans, even a team that.
What do you think of Houston?
Yeah, maybe Texans. It's someone who I feel like if the Texans would have wanted him, they probably would have got him because they didn't have a quarterback. So I think it's likely to be. It might even be a mid-season thing. Like someone's QB will go down, and they'll go, "We've got a limited championship window. We're going to go get Cap because actually he can do a job. He can go in the scheme. He'll distribute the ball, and he'll make plays on the ground. He'll help us." I think he'd be great in Seattle. I think he'd be great in Pittsburgh. If Big Ben goes down, Colin Kaepernick is probably the best guy you could get to run that offense in terms of got big arm on him, can move around in the pocket, and just takes a little bit of the heat off Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, in the sense that he can do things that even Big Ben can't do.
I agree. What do you think, Zach?
I think probably what happens, like Scott was saying, either in training camp or early in the season, I think he gets a job. The quarterback free agent market right now, who else is there really besides Colin Kaepernick, to where he could step in and actually perform and not, hurt your team. He might not go out and win you games completely on himself, but at the same time, he's going to go out there and he'll still make some plays. He still has enough athleticism to, throw either on the run or from the pocket. And I think he has enough talent. There's still enough talent, still enough gas in the tank there to where he can be picked up by a team, like Scott was saying, probably needs to be a contender, probably above average in most of their position groups, just because he's shown that, at least in my opinion, he's not capable of fully carrying a team on his shoulders with bad receivers, bad running back, bad offensive line. He needs to step into a situation where all of those areas are set from there. But I think it's going to take an injury to probably a starting quarterback or even, a backup quarterback to where a team says, okay, you know what, this is the best option right now. We got to go and get this guy.
Yeah, I could agree with that situation as well. As you say, that somebody needs to go down for him to get signed. And, I'm not going to say that's right. I'm not going to say it's wrong because, I'm just a typical fan. So I'm not going to continue to go on with that and stuff like that. But, I think that's what it's going to take for him to get a job. So, Mike, what's going on?
I want in on this. I want in on this. Is Colin Kaepernick going to get a job again? Listen, whether or not he's going to get a job is going to be up to the need. It's going to be whether or not people find a need for him. And if it means that someone has to go down, then they'll bring him in. That's fine. But I still think that there are plenty of backup opportunities out there. What we have to stop doing, though, is saying, oh, my God, this person got signed. This person got signed. Listen, system fits are a thing. And Colin Kaepernick has a limited skill set. I don't care how much you try to tell me he improved last year or the year before, or you can see him standing in the pocket better. Yeah, better still led to 1 out of 11 wins. So I don't care how much better you think he is. He can be improved 100 times over, but that 100 times over still only equated to 1 win. So you can't sit here and say, oh, he's going to get a job because he improved. He made this throw and he made that throw. That doesn't make a huge difference. You know what I mean? Colin Kaepernick's skill set, regardless of what you think and how much you think he improved, it's limited. Okay, he's not good at anticipating. He doesn't throw receivers open and all that. So will he get a job? Maybe, if there's a need for it. But Colin Kaepernick also has to show the desire to want to play in the NFL. All right. So overall, I think we all agree that it's not fair that he hasn't been worked out. All right. I think that, and you guys can all, you can chime in and say yes or no if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me. But I think we all agree that it's not fair that he hasn't gotten the call. I think we all agree with that. I think we all agree that he should be have worked out at least a little bit. Mike, you got to mute I hear some feedback. You know what, Mike? Why don't you? I don't know if you feel like saying anything, man. Why don't you give us some info on Colin Kaepernick? What your thoughts are? Nick, fill him in what we were talking about, and let Mike get his 2 cents in while he's here.
What's going on, Mike? What's going on? Hey, we were just talking about Colin Kaepernick. Do you as an individual or a fan feel that he's being blackballed? And also, to top that off, if you feel that he will get another starting job or why he hasn't had a job, and do you think he's actually 100% committed to playing football?
Well, before I get started, I got some stuff to show that I'm not a Cap hater. I got a trophy, or a statue, got his jersey rocking. All right, but besides that, he is getting blackballed. There's no doubt. I mean, I kind of heard some of you guys talking about it. Do I think he's gonna get a job? He should. I mean, he should already have a job. I don't know if he's necessarily like if a starting quarterback goes down, he can just jump on a team, jump in a system, and go. He doesn't have that many fits. That's why he's still a free agent. Besides everything else, in my opinion, Seattle, Carolina probably would be a good fit. But I mean, there's not a whole lot. I mean, that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Yeah. So, we basically boiled it down to that we're all on some sort of agreement that he is being some sort of blackballed, whether it's because of play, whether it's because of what he's doing, whether it's because nobody wants to bring attention to their organization. Everybody agrees with that. We all kind of agree that the only chance that he may get to come back to play in the NFL as a quarterback or starting quarterback is either if he gets picked up before that, but chances are that he doesn't get picked up until somebody gets hurt, unfortunately. We've all agreed that Colin Kaepernick needs to come out and represent himself and say what is going on instead of everybody else in the back burners just saying what they think is going on with Colin Kaepernick, whether it's his girlfriend, whether it's sports broadcasters. Scott, what's up?
No, I don't think so. I think if he's going to play in the NFL, the only people he needs to talk to are owners, GMs, director of pro personnel, those kind of guys. If he doesn't want to tell us that he wants to play football still, he doesn't have to, for me.
No, I don't mean that he wants to tell us that he wants to play football, but I'm just saying as in if there's all these questions and people keep coming and answering for him so that everybody, whether it's GMs, coaches, us as fans, personnel, scouts, whatever it may be, doesn't really know what's going on with Colin Kaepernick.
I think the people who really don't know, I think, are us, because we are the ones who are being told by the media, oh, girlfriend's saying this, his sociologist friend is saying this, his trainer's saying this. I imagine that him and his agent will have communicated with people who really matter in this process and will have said that either Colin Kaepernick is keen to play football or actually Colin Kaepernick doesn't care and Colin Kaepernick is not going to play football.
Right.
So I think the people who don't know is us. And if he feels like he wants to come out and tell us, basically the fans and the media, that he's keen to play football, then he could. I don't think he has to. I don't think he even should necessarily. But if he hasn't communicated with GMs and stuff, he can have no complaints. I'm sure that he will have done.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that. The way I was saying was kind of messed up. I agree with what you were saying. So, I don't know, a little more topics. What do you think, Zach, what are your final words on Colin Kaepernick? Because this is going to be hopefully the last time that we talk about Colin Kaepernick over here at Nothing But Niners.
Yeah, hopefully that way we can stop getting so much hate on Twitter over it. But I just wanted to add the whole teams don't want, attention brought to them by signing. After his protest, he led the NFL in online jersey sales for I can't even tell you how many weeks. So it's like, yeah, the attention might be bad, but at the same time, they always say any media is good media because he's bringing in sales. I don't know how long he exactly lasted at number 1 overall in jersey sales, but at the same time, they were happy that I'm sure San Francisco is happy. Jed York's over there happy that he's generating revenue over there just because of that political stance, or not even political stance, just his taking a knee, that shot up his jersey sales. I'm sure he was nowhere even in the top 10 before that happened. And now it's almost like that 7 Kaepernick jersey means a lot more than just football now. It's almost like I read the other day they're putting it in the Smithsonian. So it's like, I don't want to say be proud about, but if you're a team, that's a huge selling point. Hey, come and get this jersey. This guy's jersey is in the Smithsonian Museum. So that's just what I wanted to add. Starting or backup. Otherwise, I think the talent is still there. But as far as moving on, he's not on the team anymore. So we're gonna focus on the guys that are here, and I'm glad to put this in the past.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I was listening to what you guys said, and you guys all nailed it. And Mike, you came in at the tail end, but you pretty much summed up what everybody here was saying already. I will say this though, man. When it comes to Cap, he's a good guy and everything. I think people want to see him on a team for moral victory more than they want to see him on a team, because the fact that I saw 49er fans saying, "Oh, if he went to Seattle, I would support and cheer for them." Listen, that's just wrong. That's wrong. You have to really question. And then don't sit here and say, "Oh, it's bigger than football. It's bigger than football." No, it's literally football is what you're talking about. If you want to show support for Colin Kaepernick as a man and the morality and all that stuff, then support some of his foundations, okay? The Cam Taylor and stuff like that. You can donate to some of the things that Colin Kaepernick is doing. Don't you dare tell me, "Oh, if he goes to Seattle, I'm going to root for Seattle. I'm going to buy his Seattle jersey." Colin Kaepernick doesn't care about that kind of stuff. It's clear he doesn't care about it, but otherwise he would be more active and vocal about that kind of stuff. Colin Kaepernick cares about his good deeds and his charitable donations, okay? And those are the things you see him throwing all over his Twitter feed and his Instagram and things like that. If you're privy enough to see it, if you're not blocked, okay? So we're going to sum this up. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. That was great talk, guys. Is Colin Kaepernick being blackballed? 100% yes. Now, I also do think that his performance has something to do with it, but that's not being blackballed. Being blackballed is the fact that he's not even being brought into camps to work out and say you're not good enough. You think about how the NFL forced someone to draft other players that were coming out in the draft. What's the guy's name? Michael Sam. The NFL desperately wanted someone to draft Michael Sam. It's no coincidence that Michael Sam was drafted by the team in the NFL that had arguably the heaviest and strongest defensive front, the defensive line. It's not a coincidence. The NFL wanted to make sure they could say, we're not going to not get this guy drafted because he came out about his sexual preference. Okay, so the NFL absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, has influence on whether or not people are picked up. And I don't want to hear that, it's his political stance. Colin Kaepernick didn't vote. You know what I mean? Colin Kaepernick didn't vote. Locker rooms are full of guys who are on all sides of the party lines and political stances and all that. So you can't tell me that has anything to do with it. All right, people are pissed off. People are angry. Yes, some people feel like it was an insult to the servicemen and all that stuff. We've been over that 1,000 times. We can talk about that until we're blue in the face. But here at Nothing But Niners, we are not going to do that. Colin Kaepernick is indeed being blackballed. We all hope nothing but the best for the guy. I think we all here agree that there are injustices in this country, and that's what he's standing up for. I don't think any of us are mad at him for doing that. We wish him the best, just not against the 49ers. So we are going to go ahead and wrap this one up, and we'll be back with another segment soon. We're out of here.